Here from Sumthins Recording and the Sumthins. And since the new single is out, we're going to do the same thing, kind of like last time. We'll take you through a little mix breakdown, show you a couple of little interesting tidbits, and we'll take a look at Brandon's large stack of harmonies here at the end. But we're going to kind of just go through each part. We're going to start with the drums here, and we'll work our way through the song. Actually, we'll start at the beginning. I'll take you through as instruments come in. So let me make things here a little bit bigger. So starting from the beginning, the first thing you hear is the drone fade in. And Brandon actually did this with his guitar pedal. So it's just a stereo out from his guitar pedal board. And it's just one note sustained. And that same note just carries throughout the whole song. So that's that. And then the other main component in the intro is the acoustic guitar. And this is actually a loop that we created. It's the same passage played over and over. So that's it. It's just this 2-bar loop here. And that's the whole song. So these two elements right here go through the song. All the way through. And then the next piece is this electric piano, which is just hitting whole notes. That's pretty subtle. And there's actually a harmony to the acoustic loop. So here's the acoustic guitar. And then here's the harmony guitar. So the only other thing in the intro, I believe, actually there's a shaker too. So this shaker's sitting off to, I believe the opposite side is the harmony guitar. Yeah. So those elements combined with the lead guitar, an interesting thing about the lead guitar is you can see it comes in on the 2 of the measure. And when we originally tracked the lead guitar, it came in on the 1. But I can't remember if it was my bad or if it just tracked backwards, but it ended up starting on the 2. And we ended up liking how it sounded, so we kept it late. Here's the lead guitar with everything. So that's all the way through the intro, and the next thing to come in is Brandon's lead vocals.
I loved you from the moment we met. Everything was different then. You were someone different and I was still the same. You looked so lovely and I was entranced by your beauty.
So at this point, a couple other things are introduced. The first thing that comes in here is the bass with a high whole note. Comes in on measure 20 here. And that just sustains going into the second verse, or what we were calling the chorus. That comes in, and the piano also comes in, and the piano just plays whole notes throughout the whole song. There's a couple improvised notes jumping between them, but it's mostly just playing whole notes. And then probably the most noticeable thing that comes in is this high background harmony. So that's actually Brandon singing, but it's pitched up an octave. Let me see if I can show you what it originally sounded like here. So you can see we took it up an octave. So here's what it originally sounds like.
By your beauty.
And then back up an octave, and it's just drenched in reverb here. Just a plate, about 6 seconds. And that actually just gives us a nice kind of haunting effect as we slide in, the drums come in, and the bass drops down to its low octave. Sounds like this going into the second verse.
I was entranced by your beauty. Now you go.
So at this point, most of the instruments kick in. The biggest addition, of course, is the drums. Here's what the drums sound like going into that second verse. So the drums come in full swing. The congas actually enter here, but they're pretty subtle in the second verse. It's not something you really hear till the breakdown section. Tambourine comes in here. Just kind of tapping along there with the snare. Nothing too big there. The lead guitar comes back in. And that's something we kind of had running through the rest of the song, except for in this breakdown section. It's really just Brandon improvising through the rest of the song. And it's just something tasty that sits off to the left. It actually works in complement with the harmony guitar. So you have the harmony guitar off to the right, the lead guitar off to the left, and the acoustic part sits in the middle there. So that's how we're keeping things balanced. And then these doubled acoustics come in here, panned all the way out wide. And the only other thing that changes going into that second verse is the electric piano picks up a little bit. And then, of course, you can see the vocal is actually a little bit stronger here. If I can get rid of automation, yeah. You can see the vocal gets a little bit louder here. So let me play that part for you again, going into the second verse. So before I move on to the bridge, I just want to mention something about the vocal. You can hear during the first verse, there's a good amount of reverb on the a good amount of reverb for my taste. I don't like a lot of reverb. But the slap delay is what changes going into the chorus. So there's reverb here.
I was entranced by your beauty.
And then in the chorus, a slap delay comes in.
But now you're gone, and I can't find a way to carry on.
So if you can't hear it, this is what the slap delay sounds like.
Won't you help me?
It just adds a little bit of thickness under the vocal, makes it seem like it sits more forward in the mix. So coming out of that second verse, we go into the bridge section or breakdown section, which is mainly focusing on these congas here. So the two congas do fills throughout this middle section here. So we strip back down, no more drums, bass strips back down to whole notes, and it's just the harmony guitar, the acoustic, and these three keyboards here, mainly holding whole notes. Oops. Let me get you situated here. All right, so this is going into the breakdown section. So that takes us into the third verse. With the congas there, as I said before, in that second verse, they're pretty subtle. They're kind of tucked back. So to get them to stand out there, there's just a gain plugin that's automated here. So this mix tool just pops in. during the verse to keep them down. As you see, they're tucked down actually 7 dB. And then going into this middle section, the plugin gets bypassed. So they come up about 7 dB. And also this reverb kicks in. So they have a little ambience there, and they kind of stand out a little bit better. And then we have that roll into the third verse. Third verse is exactly the same as the second verse. There's no instrumental changes there at all, I don't think. So coming out of that third verse, the harmonies enter. And at first it's a stack of 3 harmonies, but they're doubled, so it's actually 6 voices. Moving into 4 harmonies doubled, which is 8 voices. So I'll play you first with everything in as the harmonies enter, and then I'll solo the harmonies for you. So those background vocals actually sound pretty dry within the song with everything playing, but when I pause, you can hear the tail of the reverb there. It's a large plate reverb on those vocals. So let me play you those vocals by themselves. These are the background vocals.
Alyssa, whoa, whoa. Alyssa, whoa, whoa. Alyssa, whoa, whoa. Alyssa.
So just kind of pick those apart a little bit. So we have these first 2 parts with when all 4 come in, we have these first 2 here. Which are the lower ones. I'm going to nuke the reverb here for a second so you can hear these. This is the second pair.
Alyssa, whoa, whoa. Alyssa.
So just a little bit higher. Those are the mid ones. These are the high ones.
Alyssa, whoa, whoa. Alyssa, whoa, whoa.
And then these are the super high ones. And those ones actually go up in complement with the other ones, or in contrast to the other ones, I'm sorry. The other ones go down and the super high ones go up at the end. So here's what they sound like all together once again. And the only other thing that's going on in that last part, which I find pretty interesting, is the lead guitar. You don't really hear it unless you're paying attention, or unless you're looking for the lead guitar. But it's, in my opinion, it's really cool. So it's really going wild there as these background vocals come in at the end. So it's everything going at once. This is going into that last part, taking us out to the outro. So that's the outro, and everything just kind of fades out from there. We strip back down to kind of how that middle section was, kind of focusing on the congas. And we brought back this Brandon did a couple ad libs here at the end. Yeah. Excuse me. In the first one, I just knocked up an octave here, so this little piece right here.
I'm gonna miss you.
So it's kind of like a whisper track there at the end. If you're really listening, you'll hear it as everything fades out. So for the second half of this outro, we originally had everything fading equally, so the track just kind of, it's that standard studio fade. But what we ended up doing is extending the piano track. You can see we pulled a couple extra notes out here and faded all the other instruments quicker. So the last thing standing was the piano. So here's that ending where all the instruments fade out except for the piano, and we end with one sustaining note. And that's the end of the song. That's all the elements. Just gonna go over a quick overview here. So you can see things come and go, but we generally tried to make the arrangement build as everything went on. So we start kind of sparse here in the beginning. The drums come in for that second verse there. Things get kind of big. Then we strip back down, focus on the congas. Everything comes back in, and as the ending goes out, we bring in this huge stack of background vocals. Everything's big, swirly. Everything's in at once. And then the outro, we strip back down, and we kind of do the opposite effect. Instruments drop out, and we end with just the piano. So that's a little bit insight into the production, how we made this song. Hope you found it interesting. Go listen to the song again, see if you hear some of these things we kind of tucked in there. And thanks for watching.